ਫੈਡਰਲ ਲਿਬਰਲ ਪਾਰਟੀ ਦੇ ਸੀਨੀਅਰ ਨੇਤਾ ਰੈਲਫ ਗੁਡੇਲ ਦਾ ਮੰਨਣਾ ਹੈ ਕਿ ਕੰਜ਼ਰਵੇਟਿਵ ਸਰਕਾਰ ਬਹੁਤ ਸਾਰੀਆਂ ਗਲਤੀਆਂ ਕਰ ਰਹੀ ਹੈ ਤੇ ਦੇਸ਼ ਵਾਸੀਆਂ ਨੂੰ ਉਸ ਦਾ ਖਮਿਆਜ਼ਾ ਭੁਗਤਣਾ ਪੈ ਰਿਹਾ ਹੈ। ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦਾ ਕਹਿਣਾ ਹੈ ਕਿ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੀ ਪਾਰਟੀ ਵਿੱਚ ਵੀ ਇੱਕ ਰਿਵਾਈਵਲ ਨਿਖਰ ਨੂੰ ਮਿਲ ਰਿਹਾ ਹੈ। ਬਹੁਤ ਸਾਰੇ ਲੋਕ ਨਵੇਂ ਜੁੜ ਰਹੇ ਨੇ ਅਤੇ ਉਹ ਇਹ ਆਸ ਕਰਦੇ ਨੇ ਕਿ ਅਗਲੀ ਚੋਣਾਂ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਦੀ ਪਾਰਟੀ ਜ਼ਰੂਰ ਜਿੱਤੇਗੀ ਅਤੇ ਸਰਕਾਰ ਬਣਾਏਗੀ। Prime Minister has prorogued the Parliament and there's a lot of hue and cry regarding this. Why do you feel that it should not have been prorogued?
Well, a prorogation is a normal tool in our parliamentary system. That's the way a government brings one agenda to an end and starts another one. And about halfway through their political mandate is about the right time for the Parliament to turn the page and go on to a new agenda for the future. But I think there are two things about this one that make people a little bit suspicious. One is, of course, it's happening in the midst of a number of scandals that have affected the government. And by proroguing, you shut down Parliament, you shut down question period, you shut down that channel of accountability. And I think people want questions answered rather than more summer vacation. So it's that makes it a little bit suspicious. The other thing is the length of time of this prorogation. It's perfectly permissible to prorogue one session of Parliament, say on Monday, the 16th of September, when Parliament was scheduled to resume anyway, and then resume the new session the next day. So really, you've only lost one day. But this prorogation goes from the middle of September to potentially the end of October. That could be 6 long weeks. And I think people find that kind of a gap to be a little bit suspicious as well. Prorogation is a legitimate tool, but it needs to be used for the purpose for which it was intended, and not to avoid accountability, and that's what it looks like this time.
The Senate has been much in news, and especially the 4 senators who have claimed improper expenses. And again, on that particular issue also, we find that there is one Liberal senator also. What do you personally feel and your party feels about all this?
The issue is partly the Senate. And obviously any senator, whatever political party they may be in, any senator that has improperly billed expenses needs to account for that wrongdoing, and there need to be the appropriate consequences for that wrongdoing. And that's across all party lines. No excuses for anybody who broke the rules. So part of the issue is accountability in the Senate. But part of the issue too is accountability in the government and in the Prime Minister's role of having selected 3 of these people and given their responsibility, and they're accountable to him. And in the midst of it all, the most senior official in his office, his chief of staff, cuts a secret $90,000 deal with one of these senators to what appears to be cover everything up. And I think that's the real scandal here, is how was it that there was this mentality in the Prime Minister's office that says it's okay to pay a sitting senator $90,000 to apparently pervert the course of justice? I mean, that's just wrong. So that needs to be investigated as well. For the future about the Senate, I think the main objective, the primary objective, would be to achieve decent, respectable Senate reform. And better way of appointing or selecting senators, more clearer accountability, better rules about their expenses to make sure that they are proper and appropriate.
Well, you talk about the accountability crisis on which this government came into existence, talking about transparency and talking about accountability. And especially in March, the Prime Minister talking about Pamela Wallin, and now even before Senator Duffy also, that he did not know anything about it. In your long experience as a parliamentarian, have you seen such kind of accountability crisis in the Parliament ever?
Well, I suppose the political scientists can go back through history, maybe even to Sir John A. Macdonald and the Pacific Railway crisis back in the 1870s. But it's pretty rare, and it's very disappointing, and it has happened on this Prime Minister's watch. And I think that's people find that troubling. And the most important thing is that when this scandal was breaking, the deal between Mr. Wright and Mr. Duffy, and then the further revelations about Ms. Wallin, they want their Prime Minister to look them in the face and answer the questions. And that's what has made this accountability crisis so frustrating for so many Canadians, because the Prime Minister won't face the music. And as Richard Nixon demonstrated, it is the cover-up that gets you into trouble.
Right.
And Mr. Harper just keeps digging the hole deeper and deeper and deeper. If he would answer the questions, look Canadians in the eye and tell them the truth, maybe this crisis could be dealt with. But it's that lack of accountability, that appearance of cover-up and running from the issue, trying to hide, change the channel, get people talking about something else. And that's what cabinet shuffle and prorogation and throne speech are all about. Turn the page, change the channel. I don't think it's going to work this time. Canadians want answers. They want to know about that deal. Whose idea was it? What was the money for? Where did it come from? Where did it go? And how did it change the course of a forensic audit in the Senate?
As a former finance minister, how do you feel this government's economic policies are? Are they on track, or you feel that there is some cover-up in that also?
Well, Canada's muddling along. The frustrating thing is that we could be doing a lot better. The whole world has gone through a serious recession, but that recession ended in 2009, and we're still muddling along. We should be doing much better than we are doing. And I think the reason is because the government has only one policy when it comes to dealing with the economy, and that is austerity. Cutting programs, cutting services, cutting the presence and the impact of the Government of Canada. On the theory that austerity, program cuts and service cuts will somehow cause economic stimulation and make the economy grow and create jobs and bring prosperity. Well, it hasn't done that. There are pockets of prosperity in the country. Those who are at the very high end of the income scale have been doing very well. There are many people in my own province of Saskatchewan where we've got natural resources to work with who are doing very well. But for the vast majority of middle-class families across Canada, they're not doing very well. We saw last month another 39,000 jobs that were lost. Incomes for middle-income Canadians have been flat for years and years and years, but cost of living has gone up and household debt has gone up. People are worried about their economic security. Most people, the 70% of those Canadians who work in the private sector cannot count on a private sector pension plan. 60% of middle-class families are wondering, can we really afford the cost of post-secondary education for our kids? For the empty nesters, the ones who have adult children, they've grown up and moved away, 40% of them are finding the kids are moving back home.
Right.
Because they can't afford to make it on their own. So those are pretty troubling statistics. And we have to have an economic policy agenda that addresses the pressure on middle-class Canadians, because middle class drives the economy, they drive our democracy, and they are not doing well now. Many are feeling, my kids for the first time are not going to do as well as I did.
Right.
And Canadians want that sense of upward momentum, upward mobility. And that's what's missing right now, because there's no economic policy to drive it. And a mediocre performance is not good enough. It's not good enough to say we're doing better than Spain and Greece. Well, we're not doing as well as many other countries where we should be leading the pack.
With the leadership crisis over in the Liberal Party now and the leader in the helm of affairs, how is your party gearing up for the elections, and what kind of response are you getting from the public?
It's been very good. Justin Trudeau, of course, has only been there for 2 or 3 months, but he's done enormously well in introducing himself to Canadians. Now, in many ways, Canadians have watched Justin grow up from the day he was born, and I think they have a sense of vested interest in Justin, quite apart from party lines. They want to see this young man do well, and he's working hard. The things that persuaded me to support him back in the leadership were he's very bright, he's a quick study, he works very hard at earning the privilege of leadership. He is durable and tough, and he has this amazing ability to motivate people, to attract their interest, to spark a new enthusiasm about politics, and to do so in a way that is open and transparent and candid. If he's asked a question, he answers it, and does so in a way that's very forthcoming.
Right.
And I think that opens a lot of doors for Justin. Now, we have a long way to go because the party was reduced to 35 seats in the last election. We know that we come from a ways back, but we've made up tremendous ground in the several months that Justin has been leader, and now the potential for the future is excellent. We've got a lot of work to translate what is now the hope and that sense of opportunity into tangible results. And that's what we're working on over the next 2 years.
And do you think that those people who had opted for the NDP because of the leadership crisis in your party will turn back to your party?
I think a good many will. Yes, I think people for a period of time there were maybe going tire kicking in other political parties and looking around and about. But I think with Justin's role as leader, with the work he's doing, with the enthusiasm he is building, more and more people joining the party every day. One of the phenomenal things was in the leadership process itself, 105,000 Canadians participated in that vote. That is the largest vote for any leadership of any political party in Canadian history. And of course, Justin got 82% of the popular vote, so he did very well. But he would say, if he were answering this question, that this is just a beginning. It's just a start. People, I think, are demonstrating that they want a better alternative. They want something new and fresh and different. They would like to change from the government they've got. But it's our obligation to demonstrate to people that we are worthy of their trust. If they're looking for a new alternative, here we are, and we can be counted upon to do the job they want to do. We've got to prove that over the next 2 years.
Being a strong supporter of Justin Trudeau, he has strengthened the party to quite a large extent, which is visible in the news and everything. But also, the kind of statements which he has been giving, they are also creating a lot of uproar, and especially just recently when he said that he had a puff and being a parliamentarian, how do you view this? How are the people going to accept this?
Well, I think there are two things that I've heard in the number of days since he made that comment. Number one, he is very truly exemplifying his generation, and it's a sort of thing that is representative of the demographic group from whence he comes. And secondly, he was asked a question, and without hesitation, he answered it honestly and candidly, without holding anything back. And I think that integrity factor is one that will stand him in very good stead. Canadians know that sometimes politicians have or don't have all of the answers that they want to hear. But what they don't want is a politician that will duck and dodge and try to hide. And Justin Trudeau is very forthcoming, very candid. He will call it the way he sees it. Ask him a question, you'll get the answer, and he'll be honest about it. And I think that is a good characteristic in a prime minister. You want them to tell you the truth.
Canadians have been proud of the immigrants who have come over here, worked hard, and made this country the way it is right now. But what's happening in Quebec is a matter of concern, whereby they are talking of banning the religious symbols over there, including the turbans, the cross, the kippah, and the hijab.
Well, I was very glad that Justin was able to be in Quebec just as this controversy was developing, and was very clear about the defense of minority rights. The Liberal Party is the party of the Canadian Charter of Rights and Freedoms. And that is a fundamental principle with Liberals that will not be compromised. And it was interesting that some of the major national newspapers, right after Justin made his position and our position very clear in defense of minority rights, like the Globe and Mail said, where are the other federal leaders? Why don't they say something about this issue? And kudos to Mr. Trudeau for being so honest and candid and so quick in addressing this issue clearly.
Towards that, what would be your message to our viewers today?
Well, we've got a great country, and it's a country that has an enormously optimistic future. We all need to build it together. So we need a country that is cohesive, that is respectful and inclusive, a country that is known for its accommodation. You know, we have differences, obviously, cultural and physical and natural and financial and so many other differences. But we've always had the ability to reach out to one another, to listen and to understand. And once we've done that, then to work together to make the country better and stronger and bigger. And it's that kind of goodwill that has been the fundamental characteristic of Canadian nationhood and Canadian citizenship. We've got to keep building that together. We will have issues that come up that are potentially divisive, but we've got to keep our eye on the bigger objective. And you know, this country is not held together by the force of arms or the force of law. It's held together because we want to, and we build it as a great Canadian partnership and a great Canadian community. And in that community, we need a strong economy. So we need obviously to have good economic management. We need to watch the books and not waste money and not run unnecessary deficits. At the same time, though, we've got to be prepared to invest in those things that build our country for the future, like education, like the ability for every Canadian to get the kind of post-secondary education that they need to have a successful life and be a successful contributor to our society for the future. Building infrastructure is another part of that. Building our cultural institutions is another part of that. And I think that investment side is what has been missing in the Canadian economy in the last little while. And we also need to remember that we can and should play a very constructive role in international affairs. The Canadian experiment in nation building is something that's unique in all the world, and we should be proactive in trying to use that example to build a greater sense of peace and security in other very troubled parts of the world that don't enjoy those kinds of qualities right now.
Thank you very much.
My pleasure. Thank you.